Alright, my friends. Far Lands or Bust live stream edition for your June 21st, 2022 here on Twitch. We're sitting at 42,705 megabytes. This one sneaking into the timeline right after episode 831. In case you're watching chronologically, which would be very difficult for you to do, being as these videos are in a separate playlist organized differently than the actual Far Lands or Bust episodes. I just had a bunch of heavy-duty construction implements drive by outside the window. And, yeah, we're about to continue here. Get your woofs ready. Woof! I heard it. I also hear clanks and blanks and glorps and blorps. Maybe I'll let that subside. Maybe I'll let that subside. Did it subsist? Has it subsided? Eee. Yeah, it did. Yeah, it did. Alright. Spoiders! Spoiders! Oh, spoiders. You are the craftiest little guys. Little goobers. Crafty dudes. Crafty dudes, these spoiders. Yeah, if you follow me on Twitter, thank you. I mean, honestly, it brings me nothing. That is a redundant social media platform. But I got a rare in-game achievement. What game did that tweet come from, Jazia Max? Asks. The game of life, the game of in real life. That's the joke. That is the joke. It's a joke. That's the only thing that my Twitter exists for. Sponsored posts, pictures of animals, and bad jokes. So yeah, I achieved a rare in-game achievement of, from now on, I will be compulsively, for the rest of my life, checking the water kettle for spiders. That's a fun one. That's a fun thing to unlock today that will affect me for the rest of my life. Yeah, I want to make more iced tea. And I went to pour some water in the kettle, and there's a big old guy. There's not a tiny guy, a big guy swimming around in the water, alive. I'm like, huh, that shouldn't be there. That shouldn't be there at all. So I took it outside and dumped out the spider and all the water, like, onto one of the plants outside. So yeah, the girlfriend uses the kettle in the morning to make her instant coffee before she goes to work. So there's two terrifying scenarios here. First is that somehow the spider figured out how to climb inside of a very closed and nearly sealed off water kettle, which has ramifications for other places that you think are safe from spiders. Or the spider's been in there and survived 210 degrees of boiling water. Take your pick. Which nightmare would you like to believe? Third scenario, the girlfriend pranked you by putting a spider in your kettle. So yeah, that was a sight to behold, and yeah, now every time, just like if you ever, I haven't, I still do, I still shake out my shoes if I haven't worn them in a while. But I'm sure if anybody's ever had a spider in their shoe, they're like, now for the rest of their lives, they will never not check their shoes for spiders. My theory... Why did I shear that sheep? I do not need wool. My theory, because the girlfriend fills... I'm a fancy boy. I use filtered water in the tea kettle when making tea, or whatever. The girlfriend just uses peasant water from the tap. So, like, that's the scenario, is that it was hanging out on the kitchen faucet. She opened it up and didn't see it go in when she filled it up. But then it would have had to survive her turning it on and boiling. This was a big enough spider that I mean, I'm sure they can fit through tiny, tiny places, but I don't think it could fit through the tiny little grate, the holes that are on the spout part of the kettle. On the one that we have. My niece put a grape in my shoe, but I don't check my shoes for grapes. You should! You should! I mean, grapes can't have ill intent, and they're also not, like, self-aware beings. I mean, I don't know if spiders are, but you know what I mean. Did you take a pic of the spider? No! I don't know if the girlfriend's gonna watch this, but I'm considering just keeping this from her. She doesn't have a, like, spider phobia, but she doesn't like spiders, or bugs in general, on or around her being. Well, I might keep this one. I might keep this one to spare her. I myself will take on the burden of this new obsessive compulsive behavior that has been thrust upon me. But yeah, that was a shock and an awe this afternoon. And what an afternoon it was. No, I was just saying, today's the first day the girlfriend started her summer internship job. Which she has to get up and leave for by 5:30 in the AM. In the pre-day hours. And as suspected, I was unable to fall back asleep after she did so. So I also got up at the 5:30 of the AM. We went to bed pretty early. We went to bed at like 10, which is still not early enough for getting up at 5. There's a 5:30 in the morning now? What will they come up with next? So yeah, I don't know if, like... I figured it was a good idea to get up. That way we're both sort of equally... Did I just make a stick? I think I did. We're both equally tired so that we can, like, both get to bed at an earlier hour. Which would be more conducive to the earlier waking of the uppies. The wakies of the uppies. So yeah, I had a very early breakfast. Coffee. Got out the door to walk Juno at 9 AM, which is generally, like, when I would be waking up earlier. Did some grocery shopping. At the 10 AM, and then got home about 11 and made lunch. Yeah, in the end, it all turned out that now I'm streaming and it's 4 PM. See, I tell you, there's no, you can't cheat fate. Relativity? I don't know. But yeah, I went out and tried to water some of the plants a little bit. Oh, at the same time I was, actually, yeah, I went out. I kind of kept it. I kind of didn't want to talk about it because it was making me very sad and angry and upset and vengeful feeling. But the trials and tribulations of the Datsun 280Z took a toll on me. Short story short, the 280Z, one of its many issues, started leaking out of the radiator. And after the saga of the Subaru SVX radiator, I am well done and finished dealing with car radiators, let me tell you. I already knew that the radiator, when I bought it, looked crusty, like it had some problems. So back when I bought the 280Z, I just bought an eBay aluminum radiator, just because I figured I would have to replace it at some point. But it never had any problems until recently. And when I say recently, I mean this past November. And then again, I took it out in like April or something like that, and the problem was the same. It was just leaking like at where the cap is. And only like after I stopped driving the car when like it gets pressure builds. Oh yeah. Doing that. And of course, like getting out the old radiator, pain in the ass, but not that big of a problem. Aren't you going to borrow ZK? I'm going to borrow him for... He's going to do my suspension, Bonka. That's what I've said now. Where's my bed? Oh, there it is. And then, so yeah, anyway, it's a pain in the ass to remove. I'm actually surprised that this radiator that I bought, some no-name aluminum radiator, like, had all the right holes for, like, mounting. But of course, they're just a little bit off. They're just not quite perfect for both mounting onto the car and also mounting the heat shield from the car to the radiator. They're just a little bit off. So, like, that was a pain in the ass. That was constantly going back and forth to various hardware stores to get various different fittings of M8 bolts and this thread and that nut and these sort of... I didn't want to bolt the aluminum radiator directly to the radiator support, because I hear that aluminum isn't as bendy, flexy. So I got some rubber spacer bushing things to put between them, and that's just like was a pain in the ass to fit. But anyway, the real pain in the ass came when I decided to do a thing that I didn't need to do. Everybody's like, oh, when you change your radiator, you should change your water pump and your thermostat while you're at it, if you're just going to do that. I was going to change the water pump, and I ordered one, but they sent me the wrong water pump and gave me a refund. So I'm like, that's my sign that the water pump is fine. Don't gotta worry about the water pump. And after Cone and his problems and escapades with the ramp truck's water pump, I'm very happy for that. But the thermostat's easy peasy. It's just a little disc. You just go and you replace it. You gotta replace the thermostat. The wax might be bad or something. Except when the two bolts holding on the upper thermostat housing are completely, I'm just gonna say welded. They're just welded. Nature's welding. Nature's weld. Welded into the lower housing and snap off when I tried to remove them. No matter how much penetrating oil and finesse I tried to exceed. Broke off. I'm like, well, that sucks. And then the menagerie of attempts with reverse you know, left-handed drill bits. Easy outs. Have you tried easy outs? Everybody's saying. Not so easy. I ended up to just have to drill out the bolt heads. Like, not the bolt bodies. The entirety of the bolt bodies. They were just fused. They were one. I honestly should have just, like, threaded new holes through the bolt bodies. I did that, and again, going to various fittings, screw, like, actual places that are, like, they specialize in fittings and screws. Not removing. I tried everything short of a blowtorch. Only because the thermostat housing is still attached to the car, and there are fuel lines and other sensitive equipment around them. I didn't want to remove the rest of the thermostat housing because those bolts go into the head, the cylinder, the engine block. And if those were equally as rusted and broke off, that's a much bigger problem. That's a much bigger problem. So I didn't even want to bother with that. So I drilled them out. I got helicoils, which are just like new threads to put in, but first you have to drill out the holes slightly bigger to get those new threads in, and then thread those threads. You know, it doesn't matter. Neither here nor there. Short story short. The first one went in like gangbusters, and my mood was improved. This is all over the course of, like, I said April? I think April was the last time I drove the car. Since then, all of these menagerie of problems thrusting me deeper into a spiral of depression. It is kind of the thing, like, I started back on anti-anxiety medication, and I'd been, like, feeling alright, motivated, and it was the thing that broke the dam that then flooded with remorse and self-loathing. But anyway, the first one went in. The next one I was already worried about because the bolt, I couldn't drill out the bolt perfectly centered, so it was a little bit off-center, and I didn't think there was enough material left, and sure enough there wasn't, so it cracked. It cracked the outside of the thermostat housing. I'm like, well, that's screwed. That's broken. Now I need to start all over and get a new thermostat housing and hope that the bolts aren't stuck in the engine. But then ZK and Cone come back in. They're like, no, it should still work as long as it holds the bolt in. If you can still get the new threads in there. If it's on the outside, it should still be fine. I don't know. Super skeptical. I went ahead. I put the new thermostat in. I'm drowning under ice. I put the new thermostat in. Oh, don't you do it, Wolfie. Slathered it with sealant to make sure it didn't leak. RTV sealant. And then torqued them down to the 14 pounds or whatever that they required, and they torqued down, so I'm like, alright, you're on there. Let that dry, and then yesterday I got the hoses on, and man, radiator hoses are stupid. Radiator hoses are stupid. I don't know who invented those, but they're stupid. They're just so finagly and weird, difficult. Those on. In the process of removing the radiator, you also need to remove the air intake box, which is a pain in the butt, again, to install and remove. Put back in the charcoal canister and all those related hoses. And then, yeah, today I finally filled it with water. And it held up. Kind of ran it just in the driveway for a while. get it up to temperature. Just that little bit of a leak out of the heater core hose on the underneath the dash, which is like kind of a problem. It's not the heater core that's leaking. It's like at the hose fitting. Maybe I can just get new hoses. But it's also, again, it's like the good way to maintain the heater core and heater system is to completely uninstall the dashboard, probably. So it's a real, give her another turn on the old clamp. Well, that's the problem. I can't access the screw because it's upside down and backwards, and where the screwdriver would go to turn the clamp is where the actual blower motor is, and there's not a small enough screwdriver in the world that would fit in there. That's always kind of leaked. I think it leaked a little bit more today just because I had new water in there and there was like probably a bubble in there or something. Yeah, it held. I'm like, okay, so like I had it running and then I shut it off and then I was just like letting it sit there with the water bucket to like get any extra bubbles out, and that's when I went out and kind of watered the plants and tried to take care of some house business. And then I'm like, well, I guess I should drive it. So I drove it. Good like half-hour drive. There was only one thing that worried me, is just leaving my street and then going up the hill in first gear. It sputtered at like 3,000 RPM. I just think that because I was going uphill, I don't think like enough fuel was like pressure had built up in the lines, having not driven it in over 2 months. Because it didn't do that again since I drove it. Drove it out. It's kind of a warm day, 75 degrees. Came back. Parked it in the garage. Nothing overheated and spewed. Spewed? So yeah, I just filled it up with water. I didn't put any antifreeze in it yet. I was gonna do another drain to kind of flush the system. So I guess maybe I should just like wait until I get that heater hose that I might be able to replace before I do that. I mean, I did put in some heater flush stuff, radiator flush. I don't know if I could just like keep driving with that in there for a long time. I don't know if that's bad. Like on the bottle it says drive 50 to 70 miles. Oh, this is an extra tall hidey hole. No, it isn't. So yeah, I mean, what it needs next, definitely suspension. And of course I'm waiting to do like an alignment until I do the suspension. But it also really needs an alignment. It's very wandery. Very safe. Safe times. The steering is, that is. Very wandery indeed, but now I don't like. Another one of the first things I bought when I first got the car was a exhaust header. I'm like, yeah, I'll get rid of that clunky cast header that it has. But now that I had such issues with the bolts on the stupid thermostat, everybody always has issues with the bolts on a header being rusted on and fused, and you don't want to break those. That's the end of the story if you break those. I'm about to just be like, well, screw that. I don't care if it has a fancy header. I'll just take it somewhere and have them build the cheap exhaust from the stock header back and sell the header I have. Because also, in order to change the exhaust, you got to take off the intake because they share a gasket, a manifold. Not only are you putting the exhausts at risk, but the intake. I don't have the heart for that anymore. I don't have the fortitude. Similarly, I know that taking apart the suspensions on these is a pain in the butt. I don't think I have the fortitude for that. Which is why ZK's coming, right? So yeah, I don't know. I don't know where I stand. I'm on speaking terms now with the 280. But I was very much ready to just throw it off a cliff and be done with it. Just cut my losses and be like, no, I'm good. I'm done working on cars for. I mean, I still am done working on cars, but just as a general life choice, I'm done. It was about to be a Ranwan Parks. The only reason I wanted to finish fixing it is because I'd be able to sell it for more if it's still running and driving and has like an actual radiator system installed. Anyway, I see all you people showing up in chat asking how long I've been doing this and when did I start. I started in March 2011. Primarily a YouTube series. And yeah, we last pressed F3 last March, actually, at the 11-year anniversary. At 5.7 million blocks from spawn. We've raised over $460,000 for various charities. Not in particular raising money for any particular charity at the moment, but that's a good charity right there. Lethos, thank you for that random gift sub. Exactly. So yeah, that brings you up to speed on the Datsun. I don't think anybody who watches Far Lands or Busts has much of an interest in that stuff. I know I uploaded a YouTube video when I got the Datsun. A vlog. I don't have any inventory space. Indeed. So yeah, that's I got home and now I'm like, all right, I'll let that sit and cool down for a while before I touch it again, and then we should do a Firelands. Because I definitely do not want to be drawn back into Lumberjacks Dynasty. That's for sure. None of that. That was a one-time deal. Sponsored. Oh. Oh, well, there's one inventory slot made available. Ooh. You think I'm the one in charge of alerts? I have no idea how those work. Or not alerts, but robot commands. Woof. Doc!
Docrotus gifted a Tier 1 sub to Pixie Druid. They have given 586 gift subs in the channel.
Thank you very much for the gift sub, Doc. Pixie Druid. I mean, it's the SPS, but it's also my allergies, so I've been going crazy. Ah! Okay, I'm fine. I just shifted my contact lens unnecessarily. It was worse than the grocery store, because I was like wearing a mask, but I was like all itchy and my nose was like on a half sneeze and under the mask, and it's just difficult to like... The worst! Because I'm dry! You gotta moisturize. My nose is dry. My boogers are dry. Got a dry schnoz. The jokes are also dry. Sometimes, you mean always. I think I do have like an allergy voice. I can hear it. Inflammation, swelling of the glands.
You are fully dilated to 10 centimeters. You may now give birth.
Just listen to the podcast. Yeah, I'm weird like that, of the last episode today. I hope my Prime sub helps pay part of the GF's medical bill.
Well, I hope there is no medical bill. I hope it's covered. But yeah, that's always a big... That's a question. But I appreciate it. Nix and Mix for 9 months. Sub baby. In the sub tub. Much appreciated. Fancy alert for that one. With those Bezos bucks. My sword! My sword broke. Let's go to sleep. I can't make a new diamond sword. I mean, I should have made a gold sword. If I made a diamond sword, it would lessen the importance of the diamond sword of spawn pointiness. I shall be a bowman till I make a new sword. Although that's probably dangerous too. I might accidentally shoot Wolfie. Zombies. Oh, here's a question. I mean, it might be too late, but the girlfriend wanted me to ask the peanut gallery. That's you. Part of her work, they're asking her to come up with exercises, not exercises, like physical exercises, or though maybe, for like team building, a small group. Team building exercises. Either like team building or get to know each other. I, as someone who has never been employed at like a normal place that has more than 3 employees, am not aware or experienced in what any of these things do. Or what any of these things do, like any of team building or whatever. I know in like middle school we did some sort of like camp weekend retreat thing, and they had silly team building-esque things where like you gotta go across this balance beam but help each other, and I'm like, how do you help somebody go across a balance beam when you yourself are also on the balance beam? Like, that's as close as I can think of, and I've blocked the vast majority of that out of my brain. That's gone. That has been Control-Alt-Deleted. Ooh, mysterious. Neat. Trust falls? No. Like, that's not really how you get to know somebody. Come on, like, some of you must have been... Ah, yeah. Well, yeah, that was something similar. You pair with a stranger, learn about them, and then you're the one who has to introduce them. Similarly, like, one that she found was, like, pair with somebody, and you both have to invent a wacky secret handshake or something together. And then you split from your pairs and are paired up with somebody else from a different pair, and you have to teach each other the previous secret handshake. That sort of stuff. That's just like kind of lighthearted and kooky. Nobody works for a large Fortune 500 company with HR departments that make you do stuff like this. Another one that she came up with was like, spell your name, but then for each letter have, you know, name something that you like or that like describes you using each letter of your name. So like kind of that way it also gets people to kind of learn each other's names. That one's hard. She forced me. I mean, she asked me to do it yesterday. And I'm like, this is difficult. This is very difficult. Like, K. What do I like that starts with a K? I don't even remember what I thought I said. I don't remember what I said. I might have said kayaks, but I've never been kayaking before. Kindness. Yeah, I think that's like a blind spot in my brain. I'm thinking of like tangible objects or like hobbies or likes. And not like just like words like kindness descriptors. That's a good one, albeit perhaps a little bit self-boisterous. I'm very kind, I tell myself. You was... I couldn't think of anything. She said Uranus, because I like space. And that would get everybody to laugh, because I'm a real jokester. R... a race car. Yeah, that's my... it is very much like a blind spot, or like just like my brain... I don't know, maybe I am on some sort of like spectrum where I can like name and rattle off like physical objects that I can hold or see or like think of, but not like an obscure, not even obscure, but to me an obscure like quality or adjectives. And then R, I think I said race cars. T, I think I said taking my dog for a walk. Emotionally blind. That sounds about right. If only that started with a U, or a T, or an R, or a K. What was fruit basket? What's fruit basket, Charlotte? I haven't heard of that one. I haven't heard of any of them. That's why we're talking about this. I mean, it's also difficult for me to think of those things for other people. Like, if you're trying to describe yourself, kindness, it doesn't come up. But it also feels, for me anyway, it's difficult to come up with those things for other people. Like, you all have girlfriends, right? Like, when they're like, why do you love me? List why do you love me? When did you love me? What is it that you love about me? How would you describe me to your family? Let's see here, you carry the 2, the remainder, Square root of this. All right, this is fruit. Fruit. What was it called? Fruit salad. Fruit bowl. Fruit bowl. Bowl of fruit. One person goes in the middle. People throw objects at him. No. It says one fun fact about themselves. And then everyone else who has that fact has to get up and change seats like musical chairs. And the one person left standing has to do the next fact. I don't quite understand the mechanics of that one still. So the person in the middle says, I like turtles. And then everybody else who likes turtles goes in the middle too? Oh, I need to make an axe or a sword if I'm going to break these workbenches with any sort of efficiency. Sorry, it's an iron sword. Wait, I guess I'm confused with who... You got the fact part right. Yeah, it's too abstract for my brain. Everyone who likes turtle has to move up and get into a different chair. How many open chairs are there? There should only be one open chair because the turtle guy is in the middle. There's one less chair than there are people. Well, how do they get in a different chair if all the chairs are taken? Is everybody starting standing? Is everybody standing? Once everybody who likes turtles gets up, there's more open chairs. Oh! What happens to the people who like turtles? They're shot out of a cannon. Got it. I mean, if they get into a different chair, there should still be the same amount of chairs. I guess I don't understand the different chair concept. Where are these different chairs? I've been told there are exactly the amount of chairs as there are people, minus the one person standing in the middle. That means all chairs are occupied. Okay, now half the people like turtles. Oh, I'm stuck up here. Like, conceptually, I can come up with my own way to make this work, but if that's not the way it works. Oh man, chocolate turtles? Damn, that's a flashback. St. Louis sidestep. I want one of those now. I want more than one of those chocolate turtles. We tried to make our own. That was a chocolatiering disaster. It wasn't too bad. I think it worked out. Oh, that's a bunch of lava. Let's not go over there. I think Charlotte... I'm picturing them throwing their keyboard up in the air and walking away from their desk in exasperation at these idiots who can't understand this simple team-building exercise. And that's when you learn that you would make a terrible team member and are fired. Is everybody seated? Except for one person. Is everybody in and seat? Imagine everyone sitting and one standing. Hold on. How many are cross-legged? Okay. Everybody's sitting and one standing. There are no empty seats in the near vicinity at this point. Got it. Middle person says I like turtles. Got it. Everybody's still sitting at this point. Everyone else who likes turtles stands up. Oh, okay. Okay. The way you described it, you says they choose a different chair. Now everyone who just stood up has to find a new chair that just opened up. Okay. So is it the goal of the person in the middle to come up with a thing that everybody but one person stands up for? Oh, the person in the middle gets to sit down too. Okay, that's the part I missed. I thought this schlub in the middle just stayed in the middle. I understand now. Now that makes sense. What if only one person stands up? Then they switch seats with the person in the middle. Presumably. Yeah, I could see that becoming chaotic. If you don't want to be the last person standing. A little bit musical chairsy. Careful, Wolfie! Speaking of the girlfriend, do I have plans for dinner? No. Any gluten-free buns in the works? I made them for our trip. I have one hamburger bun left over, and I froze like 4 or 5 hot dog buns because we ran out of propane in our grill, which we should remedy this week. It's gonna be so nice out. We gotta get propane. But like, I can't grill. Can't make burgers or dogs. Bun busters. Yeah, that seems a little bit too chaotic. But I just don't think there's anybody. Thank you for the one and only, like, supremely unique idea that we heard in this conversation so far. Full Metal Knee, thank you very much for 43 from Full Metal Knee months in the subtub. Subtub? Works perfect. Yeah, yeah. I mean, she's gonna be working with like late high school, early college age kids, which I think is who this is aimed at. I think a variation on that would be person stands up in the middle. Says something. Other people stand up. And then that person keeps on saying something until there's only one person sitting. And then that person is the person. Kind of difficult in case, like, they pick something that everybody likes. I guess that's where that game fails. Pictionary, it's, yeah, I mean, I think they're also looking for, like, quick, like, introduction. Like, probably shouldn't take up the whole day, sort of, getting to know each other, team building. I was about to say, where's Wolfie? There's Wolfie, you dingus. Go on, get it. Go on, get it. I see that zombie. I see him. Ooh, buddy. Yeah, I think, yeah, somebody opened with two tooths and a lie. Oh. I think that is a incredibly, very common team building introduction exercise. Doink. Yolks. Many, many yolks. At the yurt, there's a deck of Uno cards, so we started playing Uno. And then the girlfriend found and bought our own Uno sets. Although there's apparently no normal Uno anymore. For all these crazy, wacky, millennial variations. The only one she could find is this, like, flip. It's like a two-sided cards. Yeah, the Uno flip, I guess, is the latest development. It's a little weird Because I would think that you could start to memorize what cards have the other cards on the back and, like, figure out what your opponents have. That was my initial criticism. But also, we were playing at the yurt, not knowing the official rules, so we kind of just went with what we thought were the rules. Which I know you can just play however you want. There's no governing body that's going to come and take away your pack of Uno cards if you don't play right. Each side is randomized compared to the other side. True, but not every time you play. They are very much bonded sides of the same card.
I like turtles. Now everybody stand up.
Everybody stand up and fight over chairs. Thank you very much, Charlotte, for that very lengthy exclamation and explanation to get through this thick skull, the idea you were trying to convey. And for the 4 months in the subtub. Thank you very much for the support. No, well, that's the thing. Like, at first we thought the little squiggly, like the reverse card, was like a reverse. Like, if somebody puts down take 2, you can put down a reverse card and then they have to take 2. Unless they have a reverse card. But no, that's just to, like, change the rotation. Like, if you're playing with 4 people, it goes clockwise or counterclockwise. That's all that card does. That card doesn't do the reverse. That's less fun, I think. Also, did you know that if you have to draw a card, because you don't have a card to place, you only take 1 card and then your turn is over? That's the official rules. As opposed to every other sane human being in the world who plays Uno, says that you have to keep drawing cards until you have a card you can play. Also, did you know that if you have numbered cards, you have to play all of your numbered cards of a color before you can play an action card of that same color? Like a take 2 or skip or whatever. Which basically takes all of the strategy out of the game. Yeah, the dang house rules. I've never heard of that rule. That is coming from the official mouths of the Uno governing federation of the world. Yeah, you have to play all your numbered cards before you can play an action card. And if you play an action card, an opponent can call you out and say, prove it that you don't have any of the numbered cards. Which is dumb. That just takes out all of the strategy. Like, obviously, if somebody is on an Uno, and the color is yellow, and I have, like, yellow 8 and yellow 2 and a yellow pick 2 cards, I'm gonna play the yellow pick 2 cards because I don't want that person to win. If I'm forced to place my number down and then they win, I would have. It is then simply a game of chance and no skill whatsoever. Might as well just be rolling dice. Whistling Dixie. But yeah, we've been playing that on and off. She's wanted me to play like card games, but I don't like normal card games because they involve a lot of like math and like knowing like what is better than other things. like poker and stuff. I don't know what the hell a flush is, or a straight, or a Mama Jababa, or whatever they're called. But Uno, I understand. I know how to match colors and numbers, usually. But yeah, this Uno flip is like, some of the cards are like, flip the deck, and then you have to like flip your hand around in your hand and the deck on the table and the discard pile. And they're like slightly different colors. For like, if you're colorblind, I don't think Uno flip is for you, because it's like teal and purple and kind of a magenta red pink sort of situation. So it's like, what color is this? Ah, we have a Uno purist here. Subscribes to the official governing body rules. Very heated Uno discourse, yes. Ooh, look at that grassy knoll down there.
And I want to say, you're so cool. Oh, is that weird to say?
Let's count. Uno, dos, tres, 22 months.
22 months, Probenja. Thank you very much for 22 months. In the subtub. Much appreciated. Subtub. There we go. We gotta get an online Uno game going. None of this drawful or other things that everybody else plays that is impossible to play. Well, I guess it still would be impossible to play. I gotta build the girlfriend a computer still. With the rotting carcasses of my previous 2 computers. Alright, let's make hidey hole here. We've walked, I think, more than we normally do here. Oh, you dingus! Wah, sheep! What are you doing down there, guy? Yeah, the Uno at the yurt was like one that had blank cars that you're supposed to draw yourself for your own house rules. But they're just blank. It's like, what the heck do we do with these? Nothing! Throw them in the trash. Put them through the shredder. Yeah, all of my... it's become... Oops. It's become apparent to me that all of these very poorly optimized, terribly built simulator games that we like to play and make fun of. It's not the latest Halo or God of War or any sort of high action 1440 hertz Raymond's Traces gaming that we have to accommodate. It's the crappy simulator games. Like, that's what's gonna make me want to make a 2 PC streaming setup. Is to be able to, like, separate the gaming and the video encoding into different computers. All these other games and stuff run fine on a single computer. No encoding overloaded on any of these, like, actually good games, but we don't play actual good games. Except for Farland's a bust here. Thank you everybody for tuning in to this streamed edition of Farland's or Busts. Quite the topics we had today, isn't it? Let's go to sleep. And save and back up the world and then figure out something else to do. Why? I guess I am like taking a long time going to sleep and stuff for skeletons to spawn, but that's like the second time in a row. We're at 42,791.5 megabytes.